Hello, and welcome to this session of Talking Tech, Women and Girls and ICT. My name is Lily Edinam Botsyoe, and today I'm delighted to be representing and promoting the STEM Girls Picture Perfect project. And I'm also excited to be having a discussion with a woman I look up to since I met her first in 2016. She is Madame Dorothy Gordon, the current chair of UNESCO's Information for All program, a global leader in the field of technology and development with a special focus on Africa. She works to bring about greater engagement and action on policy, implementation, and evaluation relating to issues of impact on technology and the society. And she's a staunch feminist. I'm really glad to be talking to you. And before we start the conversation proper, I just want to share something small about the Talking Tech series. So the series seeks to celebrate girls and women in tech, and it's been recorded around the world between Girls and ICT Day 2020 and Girls and ICT Day 2021. Now, the Girls and ICT Day celebration is marked on the fourth Thursday of each April. And in 2020, the Girls and ICT Day was on the 23rd of April. The objectives of Girls and ICT Day are to help create a global environment that empowers and encourages girls and young women to consider studies and careers in the growing field of information and communication technologies. Now, this series is brought to you by the ITU, the UNICC, and the Office of the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and is in support of Equals, the global partnership for gender equality in the digital age. And the goal of the series is to inspire girls and younger women with information about a range of ICT careers that can be had, and to bring before a broader audience some of the role models, especially women in tech, and share information about their career journeys and work. Now we know something small about the session, and now I'm going to introduce or say something about the STEM Girls project that I'm working on. It's a project that seeks to highlight the work of women in the space, and we do this in a fun way in a color book. So you get to know about a woman, you get to know what she's been up to, and read about her successes in a color book. Now, let's move on to an interesting conversation with the woman who inspires not only me, but many young women in Ghana. Please tell us briefly about yourself.
Thank you, Lily. It's great to be with you and to support such a wonderful project, as well as the whole idea of Girls in ICT Day. As you already said, my name is Dorothy Gordon. I'm the current chair of the Information for All program at UNESCO. And that program is dedicated to building inclusive knowledge societies, inclusive and more equitable knowledge societies. And I think this year, all of us have become more conscious of the digital divides and what that means for so many people, not only in terms of their future, but their immediate survival. And so I'm very happy that IFAP works on these very important issues.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start from how the journey started. When and how did you get into technology?
I think that's really difficult because I grew up interested in technology. I'm a gadgetaholic. I love gadgets.
Mm,
And unfortunately, when I was at the University of Ghana, they hadn't yet started up a proper computer science program. And we didn't know much about it. But in my first year or so, they made an announcement that they were going to show us their newly acquired IBM computer, which at that time filled a whole room, and
wow.
they used punch cards, and they were teaching us in the evening. If you were interested, they were teaching you how to program in Fortran. So I
Mm,
was always interested in it, but I actually ended up doing my postgrad in economics because I was very concerned with poverty issues in Africa. And as you know, technology can have a huge positive impact when we're working to change people's lives at that level. If we can get the technology to them, it means we can actually listen to their voices, because
mm,
what happens all too often, and especially for women, is people decide on their behalf. And technology gives that wonderful opportunity to actually listen and try and understand better.
exactly. So to a large extent, technology is an equalizer and making everybody almost the same. Mm,
Lily, I think that we've seen that technology is actually making bigger gaps at the moment. Because if you compare a child who has access to internet and excellent content online with most of the children that we have in Africa who do not have the infrastructure or the resources that would allow them to access any useful content, that means that for almost all of 2020, they haven't had any kind of school. So that makes it more unequal. But at the same time, technology gives us the potential for greater equality, because if, say, we are sourcing opinions from people, now we have platforms that will allow them to make their voices heard, to get their voices heard. But that doesn't mean that it always works to actually erase inequality. It means we have to be very vigilant. We have to be always monitoring the impacts of technology on society. And that's why I'm happy when I interact with someone like you, who is young, but so active in the area in terms of understanding how we can make technology work better for us, while at the same time we monitor what technology is actually creating in the society. For example, we hear of women who are afraid to go online now because of the level of cyberbullying. You know, so that's terrible. We need more young women to fight against it.
Exactly. And thanks for the work you're doing policy-wise. I think with policy, you're able to address some of these issues that come up with technology. Now we'll go on swiftly to know about some activities you do in your field that goes beyond tech and how it's impacting women and the people you seek to serve.
What do you mean goes beyond tech? There's
So you
nothing
don't
beyond tech.
So you're already in the tech space, you love to advocate for staff. Now we want to know, do you have any activities beyond the current job scope you do, probably other things aside being at
Actually, the position of the IFAP chair is a voluntary position. It's an elected position. So the member states elected me to be the IFAP chair, but I do not receive any remuneration for it. So I do many other things on a volunteer basis. And I'm particularly interested in two things. One, the work I do with the World Summit Awards. It's a group of people that are dedicated to what they call purpose-driven innovation. That is innovation that can help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And then I do a lot of work in the area of education as well, because ours is a very young continent. If we don't get education right, then we are seriously compromising our future. In other places around the world, they are worried because their populations are aging. But in Africa, we are concerned because we have a huge dependency ratio. We don't get enough taxes to support education, and yet we have more and more children who need education.
Right. Thank you so much. Now we want to talk to you about some of the lessons you picked in your journey in the tech space and even interfacing with young people in the space. Any lessons for even those who want to venture into the sciences?
Yes. First of all, we have so many myths that have been created as a result of colonization. If you look at our traditional societies, especially the coastal people and the Akans, including the Ashanti, women have always been expected to be breadwinners, and they've always been in the public space. Traditionally, women farm, men fish, women will sell the fish, they don't go to sea, that kind of thing, but they are deeply involved. And since the women sell the fish, they actually control the economy of the fishermen. But you see that with westernization, there are all these stereotypes that come in, such as girls are not good at maths, or girls are not good at science, or if you're a girl, you can't become an engineer because you'd have to wear trousers and you may have to climb up a pole. You know, this is completely ridiculous. So I would urge women, especially remembering they are proud African women, or you are a proud woman from wherever you may be, that you are the one who would listen and allow other people to frame your future. You don't have to listen to them. Frame your own future and you go with where you are interested, what you are interested in. And what I always remind people, these stereotypes, particularly about Muslim women, and if you look at the rates of enrollment in computer science in many countries in the Middle East, there are far more women than men, and even in North Africa. And the fact is that men in those areas prefer to do business studies. They don't want to do computer science. But the women are able to do computer science and to do it very well. And I say there's no difference between the brain of a woman who is in Dubai and the brain of a woman who is in Ghana. And you asked me for lessons learned. Being somebody who doesn't accept stereotypes, it really amazed me to find how easily influenced so many young girls are by the messages that are coming to them from their teachers and from their parents, their wider family. So that was a surprise to me. What I found out is once I got a group of young women together in a class by themselves, they loved computer science. They were so excited by all the opportunities it opens to them in terms of being able to change the world for the better. And we actually had to fight to stop men from infiltrating those classes. We'd organize an all women or all young girls group because we found they were more comfortable that way. And yet you would see boys and young men trying to sneak in, and that would change the dynamic of the class. So each time I would see one of them doing that, I would ask the young women, do you want this person to stay in the room? And they would say, no, please get that person out. The men would also be surprised that the women would be so aggressively not wanting them there. We once did scholarship class for women who had already graduated in computer science to bring them to a very professional level. And that was for me extremely rewarding because after that year of intense coaching, so many of them got great jobs and went on to have wonderful IT careers, you know, and one of them actually came to see me about 14 months after the course, and she said, here are my new car keys.
Wow.
Wow, that was fast.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's so many opportunities. There's such a gap. We have a huge gap in terms of available personnel in this field, that it's a shame that so many young women don't allow themselves to make use of that opportunity.
Interesting. So the first time I encountered you in 2016, it was the confidence for me. As somebody who had just entered computer science class in 2013, I thought there was a lot of work to be done before I could speak in gatherings and all. And you came in flanked all around with men, and you were so vocal. And I thought to myself, this is awesome. So that was some
What
inspiration.
event was that?
It was a computer science society event in KNUST that year. Yes.
Yes.
And you were still at Copenhagen ICT Center. And
yes,
you were
I
asking,
just loved visiting students on campus, you
yes,
know, and teasing you all. I always
exactly,
remember asking you how many hours you study a day.
exactly
And then
what
I'll
you asked.
compare you with the students in La Côte d'Ivoire who study
Yes,
so much more.
yes. You said you were really at the point you stopped speaking and you said, you guys don't know this. I'm surprised. You all should enroll for this program the next year. And I told my dad I'm going for this program. But I think that vacation I did an internship in networking. So I didn't join the program. But it
But it
just
was
showed me,
still good. You got good experience.
yes,
Yeah.
it just showed me how we had to also look for the opportunities for ourselves, find out what's happening and all. So it's just going to take me to the next question about women and having our voice in the space. When you were
Mm.
starting off, did you have any challenges and how did you overcome them?
Oh,
What was
yes.
the coping
I,
mechanism?
I, I think that when you say starting off, do you mean my career or do you mean in
Career
tech?
wise, career, okay, in tech, since, okay, let's do tech because you didn't necessarily do computer science.
Well, actually, I can say that my career in tech even started when I was working with UNDP because I was known to be somebody who wasn't afraid of tech. So anytime they were introducing new technology, they would ask me to help them out and make it more acceptable to the rest of the staff. In that sense, I was always recognized and encouraged because what happens, and I discovered this after I left the UN, is that thanks to very clear policies on gender, women are encouraged within the UN to fulfill their potential. You always have individuals who will talk down to you because you're female. You know, you enter a room and they will speak to your assistant because they think it's not you. I always remember when I was a manager in the UN system, arriving at an airport and being left behind for about 6 hours because they were expecting a man. So, you know, they did not expect it to be me. So you have those kind of generic issues that are to do with the fact that everyone seems to have absorbed certain stereotypes. But if we talk about my career in Ghana, I came in as the Director General of the Ghana India Kofi Annan Center of Excellence in ICT. And so the position itself gave a lot of status. In general, our problem is that there are too few of us who actually understand technology. And so some of my problems would be that somebody has gone to do a course which is basically allowing them to word process. And then their uncle would call me and say, oh, this person should be lecturing in software. They've understood software. And then you know yourself from ingenious students, how many of them are in first year of computer science and they print a card, IT consultant, and they go around when they haven't yet got the depth, you know. So I would say that any woman who is a leader encounters certain issues where people will always try and remind you that you're female by telling you, oh, you're looking good today, how sweet, blah, 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 that kind of rubbish. So I'm very good at giving you a good look, you know, and one little look and you wouldn't try that again.
Wow.
It's necessary, you know, and this is one of the things that I used to try and share with my staff, especially the females. As a woman, you might say something and then the men in the room wouldn't actually hear what you've said. And that is why have, I think, worked very hard to be extremely clear when I communicate. And if you don't hear me, I will repeat it, you know. And if you say it, and sometimes one guy will hear it and then repeat it and pretend it was their idea, that kind of thing. And I always just say, thank you so much, X, for repeating what I had just said. So I don't let them get away with it. And sometimes also they will put words in your mouth. And if somebody says that you said something you didn't say, you stop it right there and you say, no, this is what I said. So there are many general techniques that as women, we have to use in order to make sure that we get our voice heard and we are recognized as professionals. Some women play it differently and they decide to be very, how can I put it, deferential in order to survive. But I think that would be too stressful. At home, you go home and then you'll be punching, you know, after having absorbed so much of that during the day. So for the young women out there, I really want to recommend that you do the research. There's a lot of literature out there on how to cope with being female in a non-supportive environment. I'm being very diplomatic. There's a lot of literature out there. There are a lot of techniques you can use. But the main thing I think is that you should enjoy your work. And if you enjoy your work and you can see that you're actually making progress towards your goals, I don't think it will be easy for anyone to stop you.
You actually went into the next question I was going to ask. That was like a take home for women, young girls, not too young girls in companies. And I think this is really applicable on all levels. So
Mm.
I'm going to be rounding up in a bit. Maybe you have a question for my generation. What would that be for girls my age coming up in tech?
Well, I think the question I would ask, and you also touched on it a bit earlier when I was interacting with you at KNUST, I was always very concerned that when I travel to other places, students are busy online, participating in open source communities, building up their capabilities in terms of project management, etc. And I found that many young people are very happy to just follow what is being fed to them in the classroom. And in technology, you absolutely cannot do that because it's moving so fast.
Yeah.
You have to be doing your own research. You have to be creating your own network and staying up to date with the field by yourself, because you would see that the greatest expert on a particular technology may be somebody who's 24, so the person who's 50 actually doesn't master that well enough to teach you about that. So my question would be, why this lack of exploration, if I could put it that way? You can tell me why.
Okay, so I can say probably is first of maybe the lack of zeal to follow through and find things that are happening, and to a large extent, not the resources not being readily available. So if you take say Ghanaian, I'm Ghanaian in Ghana. What has
Mm,
worked for me is that finding data, finding resources online normally is a hurdle. You'd find out that what you're looking for is probably not readily available. You have to find another thing that could lead you to another thing that points you to another thing, and there's so much information overload. In your quest to find it, you will just fall off and not continue. And one way I'm coping or trying to find the information that's available in the space is through joining tech communities. So in these communities, you find out that somebody is exposed because they are positioned in another country and have access to it. So this is where we are able to share the resources. So when I enter any community, I'm just in there. Hi, my name is Lily, and I see every opportunity to learn. And people start asking, "Hi, we have this happening. Would you want to join?" And normally you find me, even if I miss a meeting, asking for recordings and all those. Because if you want to wait for the information to drop so you can find it online in the Ghanaian space or find it anywhere, it's normally hard. And because you're in a community, people like to fuel conversations on the pages, on the groups, and the platforms you're on. So they constantly share. So I just set in groups. My mom doesn't understand why I'm in about 100 groups. It's sometimes burdensome, but sometimes I find the information I'm looking for. Many of the programs I've volunteered in, many of the courses I've taken online is because somebody saw it somewhere, probably a place I would have never met it, and put on a page and said, "Guys, this what is happening. Do you want to do it?" And I have my friends asking, "How do I find them?" And we are all on the same page. So there's a difference in the information being available and you also chasing it. I think it's time for us all, because the future to me looks more of a learning field. Things are
yeah.
becoming simpler. You can imagine how we used to code, how people older than us used to code in the olden days. They could write on paper, probably travel to find a mainframe somewhere to hit some keys and, and translate into machine readable codes. But now we have frameworks making things simpler. But somebody understood the situation to be able to make the framework. So for us, we also have to learn and be able to pivot. Else, there are things that will be so much easier that our skills that are very old-fashioned and manual will not be useful anymore. So, because I know this, I just seek out the information as and when. And how I get it easily is because of the communities I am in.
I think that's great advice, Lily. The only thing that I'm going to add to that is I think that it's easier for a lot of people abroad because there's some excellent tech magazines and tech blogs.
Mm.
So we want to see more of you getting involved and developing the tech blogs that are appropriate to our context.
Mm.
And I also wanted to remind you, because the other thing that I find very concerning is that for people who are developing software solutions, or even those who are in the more infrastructure related fields, their focus is always on imitating products that have been designed for the West and aiming to satisfy the more urban kind of elite African. And it's true that that is a good market where you would be able to get some high-end customers. But please don't forget that the bulk of our population is still working in agriculture and it's still rural. And there are many, many issues that confront them that we can address through technology. And particularly technology when we pay attention to the use of our own languages so that people can actually understand what we are talking about. So I know that many of you who have chosen computer science come from well-off homes and you are parts of the urban elites. But I really would encourage you to get to know the country in a wider sense as much as possible. And to get to know different regions, different communities within Ghana, so that we can actually make technology work for everyone.
Thank you so much. So you're moving more even into the inclusivity of technology. And I think I'll add that to my 2021 goals to do something more Ghanaian centered around blogging for tech. So tech topics, things that's happening.
You know, you could even have a blog for, if you don't want to work outside of Accra, you can even do a blog for the market women, because the market women, right now, they are young men going around with customer relationship management software for the market women, and also very basic accounting software, that kind of thing. But the ways in which this could be done much better, you know, so explaining that to them, you may even create a new market for yourself and become a multi-millionaire one day.
Yes, right.
You
Thank
know,
you so
become
much.
rich while doing good.
Yes, exactly. So towards impact and towards profit. Yes, sounds like a good plan. Thank you so much. So thank you. We are wrapping this now, and I just want to appreciate the time. Always inspiring listening to you, because you bring the information to the barest minimum. Everybody has to understand this, so you make it so understandable. And thank you. And
And
then
let me just say that if you're a young woman out there, and even if you are a young man, please get involved in using tech for good. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Madam Dorothy. Really appreciate the time. And thanks for sharing these nuggets with us. I appreciate it.